Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Battery Talk. Today we will talk to Martin Steinbauer, Global Segment Manager for Tech Center Solutions, about battery test facilities, all the challenges and all the opportunities that come with it. Let's go. Hi Martin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Doing good, thanks.
Today we're going to talk about battery test facilities. Martin, can you share your expert knowledge of running such facilities?
Looking at these battery test facilities, or how we call it tech centers, there are many different test beds installed. And all of those test beds, they run test profiles at the same time. Some of them charge, some of them discharge. But how can you know the resulting power of it? How can you calculate how much power you really need? Mm-hmm. That's an interesting question, right?
Yeah, right. Obviously you don't want to waste any of this energy. So one option would be to just simply refeed it back into the grid, right?
Right. Burning energy, what is being produced, is not a good option. You're right. Feeding it back to the grid could be an option, but in some parts of the world, you're simply not allowed to do so. And the second question we need to look at is, do you get appropriately paid for it? Mm-hmm. Because if you consume the energy, you might pay 30 cents. If you feed it back, you might get paid 5 cents, which is not a very good business model, right?
Yeah, right. So 5 cents to 30 cents is obviously not a good deal. Do we have any other choice or any other alternative to reuse the energy?
Sure. To reuse the energy, first of all, you have to understand how much energy is there to be reused. So you need to somehow calculate what you're going to have in your test field. For this calculation, you need to have a very deep understanding of the test profiles, because the test profiles, in some point in time, they charge, in another point in time, they discharge, and then you multiply that with a lot of test beds, and that's getting complex. So you need a kind of software to help you with that.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like a very interesting approach. Do you have a solution in place for this?
Obviously, we do, yeah. Our solution is called E-calc, is an abbreviation for energy calculation. E-calc can calculate the resulting power based on all the different test profiles. So it is taking into account the charging, the discharging profiles, and calculates in which point in time you consume how much energy. And therefore, you get a, so to say, prediction of which energy do you need from the grid. So that can help you to decide how much power do I really need from the energy provider, which is decisive for the contract with the energy provider. And second, how big the transformers need to be, for example. Mm-hmm. So the whole electrical infrastructure you have in your test field is going to be based on this calculation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So reducing the energy consumption to 1/3 sounds really, really interesting. So how can this be realized in reality?
Taking an example, you said it, reducing it to 1/3. In one of our customer projects, we were able to reduce it even further. But let's start with this 1/3. We had rated power installed 15 megawatts, and we were able to bring it down to 5 megawatts. Mm. If you look at this from a bigger scale, you could say this is a diversity factor of 33%, which is not really rocket science yet. But maybe you want to further optimize that, bringing it down from 5 megawatts to 4 to 3 megawatts. And you want to make sure that when you run your test field, these limits are not being exceeded. Mm-hmm. And this is the interesting part of the story. And this is the secret for running a sustainable and efficient lab. Mm-hmm. And the secret is called Amos.
Okay. Now I'm curious. Can you tell me more about Amos?
Right.
What is it?
Another abbreviation. It's called Amos Energy Monitoring System. This energy monitoring system is able to gather data from the test field in order to understand the consumers and providers of energy. So at any point in time, it measures exactly these values. It brings in these values and makes a calculation of not only what is being consumed or provided as energy now, but it also makes a prediction into the future, which is really the interesting part of it. And this prediction into the future enables you to understand, do I exceed my limits at any point in time in future?
Okay. So I guess this approach can save you a lot of money, right?
Absolutely. The further interesting part of it is it not only gives you the idea of where are these limits exceeded, it also gives you suggestions. For example, can we take this one profile and start it 1 minute later? And that sounds only a little time, but in fact, that might be enough to avoid a peak over peak and therefore really come down with these values. And as you said it, this will be decisive for running the lab and saving therefore operational costs. And these savings, this can go into millions.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So to conclude, we heard about the challenges of the energy management. We heard about reducing the required power to 1/3, and we heard about a system that is able to shift the peak demand in order to guarantee that the limit value, which is defined by the customer, is not exceeded. Bottom line is, with these systems and with this management, you can save a lot of money.
Absolutely, that's the point. But this is not yet the end of the story. We also have a self-learning algorithm in the software. What does that mean? For example, you have a certain test profile and the software knows, looking into the past, that this test profile always exceeds the time by, let's say, 10%. So the software takes that into account in order to make your prediction even more accurately.
Mm-hmm. Great. So Martin, thank you for your very interesting insights. To close this session out, I would like to give you the chance to state your personal key takeaways for the audience.
Perfect. So two key takeaways for you and for the audience. So what I want you to take away is two things. First, E-calc can help you in calculating the energy demand and therefore also the needed electrical infrastructure for your test field. And second, Amos can help you in managing your test field by keeping the limits you as a customer can set and can therefore provide you with savings up to millions.
Great. So Martin, thanks for your time. Thanks to the audience for watching. Follow us on social media. Make sure to tune in to our next episode of the Battery Talk, and stay safe and stay charged.